So, what if I told you that getting wealthy has way less to do with what you know and almost everything to do with how you act? Today, we're going to crack open a really powerful idea that your behavior, not how smart you are, is the real key to financial success.
Yeah, you can pretty much forget what you've been taught. See, finance isn't just this world of spreadsheets and complicated formulas. The big idea we're exploring here is that money is, well, it's a deeply human thing. It's driven way more by our emotions and our personal stories than it is by any cold, hard math.
You know, we all tend to chase this myth of the financial genius, right? We think building wealth takes these super complex formulas and crazy, aggressive risks. But the reality, it's actually a whole lot simpler. And frankly, it's way more achievable for the rest of us. It's really built on these old school virtues, things like patience, a little humility, and just plain good habits.
All right, so let's dive right into that big idea. It's not math, it's behavior. We're about to see exactly why our financial decisions are almost never as logical as we like to think. Instead, they're guided by these really powerful forces deep inside our own heads. Just think about it for a second. Your own personal experiences with money. You know, the lessons you learned from your parents, the kind of economy you grew up in, all of that creates this powerful unconscious filter. And that filter, it shapes every single financial choice you make, way more than any textbook or spreadsheet ever could.
And this personal history is what builds what you could call your money mindset. It's the very reason that your own financial logic feels so right, so intuitive to you, even if it looks totally irrational to somebody else.
I mean, have you ever looked at someone's financial choices and just thought to yourself, that is crazy? Well, here's the thing. What looks like a bonkers decision to you might be perfectly logical to them. Why? Because you're just not playing the same game. You haven't lived the same life.
See, your mindset is this totally unique mix of forces. It's the generation you were born into, the habits you picked up from your family, the economic ups and downs you've lived through, and yeah, even just pure random luck. I mean, think about it. Someone who grew up during a big recession is going to see risk completely differently than someone who only ever saw a booming market. So nobody's perspective is crazy. It's just the logical outcome of their own personal story.
Okay, so beyond what's going on in our own heads, there are these huge, invisible forces at play. We're talking about the external factors that we can't always control, but that we absolutely have to understand if we're serious about building wealth.
And here they are, the two sides of the very same coin, luck and risk. They're constantly reminding us that a great outcome doesn't automatically mean it was a smart decision, and a bad outcome doesn't mean the decision was dumb. This is so important. We have to learn to judge the quality of a choice completely separately from how it ended up turning out.
All right, next up is what is arguably the most powerful force in all of finance, compounding. And here's the secret. The magic ingredient isn't chasing some massive, crazy return. It's time. Just time. As you can see right here, small, steady gains over a really long period create the kind of wealth that these short bursts of high returns just can't even touch.
And that brings us to something called the tails you win principle. It's pretty simple. In investing, a tiny handful of massive successes are responsible for the vast majority of the results. So what does that mean for you? It means you don't have to be right all the time, not even close. You just have to survive long enough to be in the game when one of those rare game-changing wins comes along.
Okay, so building wealth is one thing. We've talked about that, but how do you keep it? That, my friends, is a completely different skill, and it requires a totally different way of thinking.
See, getting wealthy, that takes optimism. It takes putting yourself out there and taking some risks. But staying wealthy, that's all about survival. It's about having the humility to know that the very things that got you here might not be what keep you here. And it's about having the discipline to avoid that one huge mistake that can wipe it all away.
And to do that, we kind of have to redefine what wealth even is. We confuse it all the time with being rich, right? Which is all about visible spending, the fancy stuff. But true wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars you didn't buy. It's the money you saved instead of spent. It's those assets working for you, quietly, behind the scenes.
There's this brilliant little mental model that explains this perfectly. It's called the man in the car paradox. So picture this. You're walking down the street and someone drives by in a ridiculously expensive, flashy sports car. What's the very first thought that pops into your head?
Okay, here's the paradox. You almost never think, wow, look at that driver, they are so cool. Nope, Instead, you think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm so cool. See what's happening? We use other people's fancy stuff as a benchmark for our own desires, not as a reason to actually admire them.
And that leads us to this incredibly powerful way to think about savings. It isn't just a financial act, it's an emotional one. Saving money is literally the gap between your ego and your income. It's you choosing to dial down your ego today to build real security and freedom for your future self.
So, okay, if wealth isn't about buying all the flashy things, then what is it for? And that brings us to our final and I think most important section. What is the real point of all this?
And here it is. This is the ultimate goal. It's not a bigger house. It's not a faster car. The single greatest thing your money can ever buy you is control over your own time. Freedom.
So what does that control actually look like? It's the power of autonomy. It's the freedom to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. It's the ability to choose what you do, when you do it, and maybe most importantly, who you do it with. That right there is the real payoff.
So, we'll leave you with one final question to think about. I want you to look at your own financial life and just to ask yourself, what is my money really buying me? Is it just buying me more stuff? Or is it buying me freedom?